I would like to call to order the August 15th, 2023 meeting of the Colerain Township Zoning Commission. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, you already did? Yeah. Thanks so much.
So welcome to all in attendance, township staff, and my fellow commissioners. Just a friendly reminder for everyone who is present tonight to please silence your devices at this time. Mr. Alec, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bachman?
Yes.
Mr. Gearing?
Here.
Mr. Wilson?
Here.
Ms. McMullen?
Here.
And Mr. Westfall. Pardon me,
Here.
Mr. Westfall. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the presentation of minutes, and we have none for this meeting. So next, we are at the public address. We would like to welcome the public to address the Zoning Commission with any items that are not on tonight's agenda. If you are here for tonight's public hearings, your comments will be heard during the hearing. Is there anyone present who would like to address the commission tonight? Okay, seeing none. Final development plans, we do not have any on tonight's agenda. So that brings us to the first of two public hearings scheduled for tonight. The first case is zoning case ZA 2023-11, HJ Hauling, located at 7679 East Miami River Road. Mr. Alec, do you have a presentation?
I do. If you could just give me a quick minute to try and figure out some technical difficulties we're having with this new adapter I grabbed. Just have 1 minute, please, if you would, or two.
No, you're good.
If you wouldn't mind, I'm going to perform the always reliable IT trick of just restarting it. So hopefully that works. If not, the show will go on one way or another. It's going to be a fun meeting. I promise there'll be a lot of entertainment later on if you want to stick around for that portion.
What's that?
You're going to dance and entertain.
Yeah. I can do finger puppets and the screens there.
We'd rather see you dance.
I can tell you a joke.
We could probably use a good joke right now, sir.
Yeah, did you hear about the three-legged pig?
No?
Yeah, sure. A farmer knocked on the next door neighbor's house and said, "Hey, you got a three-legged pig out here." And the guy said, "That's a very special three-legged pig." He says, "Last year, my granddaughter was running towards the lake, and that pig ran in front of her and blocked her from running into the lake." He said, "Probably saved her life." He says, "Yeah." He says, "Well, why has it only got 3 legs?" He says, "That's a very special pig." He says, "Last January, my house caught fire, and that pig ran on the porch and squealed at 2 o'clock in the morning, woke us all up, and saved all our lives, the entire family." He said, "Wow." He says, "That's amazing, but why has it only got 3 legs?" He says, "Man, you got a special pig like that. You don't eat him all at once."
There we go.
That's not a PETA-approved joke.
I think it is required to, actually, by law, and then also if it isn't, it needs to be. Come on. Come on.
Jokes for you.
All right, Tim, you're up next. What you-
I guess next month somebody has to have one better than that.
IT tricks never fail. There we go. We're back up and, oh.
There we go.
Well, there we are going through intermittent flashing, or what would you like to do, Ms. McMullen and/or the zoning commission? We might stay, we'll see. Just don't look at it, don't think about it, don't mention. Thank you all for your patience for that. First up, as introduced, is KCA 2023-11. We're looking at property at the northern edge of the township. There's a weird thing going on with the address in this. The address is in the 7200 range for some reason. But then if you zoom in on a KGIS map, it actually comes up in the 10,000 range there. And I'll pull up some of that information in just a second here. But again, right at the northern edge of the township, it is actually at the township line, the county line. And to the north is our dear friends in Butler County. And it's Fairfield Township there, I believe. And here's a map of their zoning just north of the property we're talking about, just to give a reference to what's around there, what's approved there. Immediately north of this property is the Miami River, so no actual property on that side, but then also there's a adjacent homeowner to the north, as you can see in this topo map here. Right at the intersection of East Miami River Road and the exit from North 27 onto East Miami River Road at the intersection there. And the application later, David. Here are the plans that were presented in the packet and submitted by the applicant for the preliminary development plan. Oh, there we go. It should have been in all the commissioners' packets, and this part was available online as well. What's that? This is the renderings and the sections of the proposed, man, I'm doing a terrible job. The single-family dwelling to be built. The current zoning right now is R2, and the proposed rezoning for this map amendment would be PDM. The M would be required to have the residence, as is indicated by this plans, and a business, which is indicated on additional sets of the plans. The business being a small to medium trucking company, logistics company, handling dump trucks, family-owned and operated, and the owners and operators of that family would be living on site here in this house, as I believe. If they'll correct me if I'm wrong. Again, just moving through the PDP. This is the preliminary landscape plan. Indicates a very nice buffer to the north, in my opinion, and then also some landscaping to the south along the East Miami River Road there, and the entrance as well. This was some of the applicable portions of the land use analysis in the Colerain Township Comprehensive Plan that applies to here. And basically, for the most part in this area, there's a very large zoned portion of the township that's zoned for B3 to the southwest of this parcel. That was there for the P&G Research Center, which of course is no longer located there. And part of this proposal on staff's end would be us discussing and then recommending or not recommending that the land use map be amended to incorporate take out maybe that heavy industrial use and then extend it to not only US 27, but across 27 at the township border there with this, if this were to be recommended for approved and approved, that would be a necessary element where the land use map would have to be amended. This is the land use map that was proposed during the Imagine Colerain for the revamping of the comprehensive plan. And then these were included in both the packet and then also in the informal concept review that had the applicant had back in April. Just is going over just some of the requirements of the PD zone and the process of it. Part of that 9.3.4 is the compliance with plans. So if this were to be recommended for approval and to be approved, and that would be an inherent amendment to the comprehensive plan, Imagine Colerain, to extend that land use, probably shift that whole area over to catch some of the area that actually could be used for industrial or more moderate, more intense uses than what exists there, given the infrastructure. But then it would also encompass this property as well. Staff findings, as proposed, the applicant's plan to rezone the parcel as PDM mixed-use plan development would align well with the current land use area in the area and with the future plans of Colerain Township for the specific areas within certain distances of US 27 interchanges. That was a discussion that happened with the development department and then our consultants, KZF and ZoneCo, as we're looking at rewriting and revamping our current zoning resolution to meet our comprehensive plan, Imagine Colerain. It was noted that possibly along some of the interchanges along 27 there, some of those areas could either be rezoned or have an overlay district to allow for some type of business use there if any property owners in the area wanted to. If you want like a convenience store or something like that, in one of the interchanges or other things like that. A portion of this is the economic development arm to kind of capture or align with or complement some of the proposed and expected increases in traffic that the Spooky Nook Sports Complex would have in Hamilton County. Excuse me, in Hamilton, the city of Hamilton, not Hamilton County. So that's just a little bit of background on that portion of that. Staff's recommendation, based on the preliminary development plan, the application, and then staff's analysis of that, staff would likely be able to recommend for approval the proposed zoning map amendment with conditions. We'd be looking at probably, this would be more at the FDP stage, after we evaluate the plan tonight, if there are any conditions or concerns with the landscaping, screenings, stuff like that. But there are no specific staff recommendations for conditions of approval this evening, unless the zoning commission, of course, if you feel so, that's by all means your right to add those to it. And unless there's anything further about that, that concludes staff report on the matter, on the case.
Could you go back to the actual site plan? The computer was kind of acting up there, and
Yes, sir.
it really didn't show very well. Yeah,
Okay. This is page 1.
yeah. Yeah, not that one. Next one. That's it.
Okay.
Can we blow that up? There we go. That's perfect. So my question is, and you may not know, and if the applicant, I know they're in the audience, so certainly they can help us out. The diagonal line that's going through there says sound barrier, and there's a dimension on it of 7 feet, I think, on either end. So I assume that's a 15-foot sound barrier, but I don't really know what that is. Is that a fence? Is that some kind of a other structure? There's no note, there's no detail. That would help. And it appears that its closest point to the property line is 63 feet, something like that. So just not sure what that is. And do you know?
I am under the impression, but I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, that is supposed to be a sound barrier or sound berm, an earthen mound, earthen berm. But if I'm, with the landscaping on it, if I'm wrong, I will be corrected. That's the impression I'm under. Is it?
Mr. Alec,
Oh, we'll hold questions 1 second until staff's done.
do we need to go into public hearing first?
That would probably be, well, we could do the application, the applicant could do their presentation first if they would like to, and then at that portion, if you would like to, we would have, at some point, we would have to go to public hearing.
Okay.
Generally, probably let the applicant give their presentation first if they have one, if you wanted to.
No, you're fine.
I just wanted to bring up that in that.
Can you please state your name and address for the record? Thanks
Josh
so much,
Ross
Josh.
from RVP Engineering. To answer his question about the sound barrier, they sent over the decibel readings, and there was the sound barrier, I guess like pamphlet or specs in that document a couple of pages down. That may clarify. I don't know if it's possible to bring up on the screen.
It will be, you just have to give me a minute. We
Yeah,
are
yeah.
operating under some unique circumstances this
Yeah,
evening,
I
so
just-
I appreciate your patience. But yes, the applicant did
If
send it
you
over.
could just tell us what it is, that'd be helpful. Is it a wall? Is it a?
Yeah, so like he said, it's kind of like a berm, but like I said, in that it has pictures of what it looks like. That way you guys can visually see, but it's just a way to dampen the sound to help, so the sound can't travel past that point. It'll dampen it before it gets to the property.
Okay. Because it's not a landscape berm because you don't have landscape on it.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
but
it's some
we
other
have
device.
trees on the other side.
Yeah,
of
I
it.
understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Madam Chairman, we can just go right to the public then.
If that concludes any questions that the commission has for staff, would the applicant be interested in giving a presentation prior to the public hearing or not?
Just go to the public. I'm fine.
So at this time, we need to open our public hearing. Do we have a motion and a second, please?
A motion, we open a public hearing.
Second.
Mr. Alec, we have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call?
Mr. Bachman?
Yes.
Mr. Gearing?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall? Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. McMullen?
Yes. All right, so we have 2, 3, 4, 5 individuals who are signed in to speak at the public hearing. And we will just go right down the list. First up, is it Arlise Bell? And if you can state your name and address for the record, please.
It's Arliss Bell, 6543 Thompson Road, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45247.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was wondering how much room is there in that whole area?
A little over 3 acres. I'm
Please?
making- A little over 3 acres. I apologize. I will get the exact measurement. In the whole entire parcel? Is that correct?
Yeah. Right.
1 second, miss.
It is 3.532
532 acres.
3.5,
acres.
Just over 3.5 acres, miss.
how many trucks would be going in there?
That'd be a question that the applicant will answer later on, and usually would answer in their presentation, so. I believe it's between 10 and 15. If I'm wrong, we'll be corrected on that.
Okay, I'm just wondering, to me, a trucking company is big, and it's not a lot of room, but. So, okay, I guess that's all I have to say.
Thank you. If we could reserve the right for anyone who speaks prior to the applicant, give their presentation, maybe they could come back up afterwards if there's something wasn't answered during that, if that'd be okay?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
So next we have Charles Burling. And please state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Charles Burling. I live at 7589 East River Road. That's in Butler County. It's adjacent to this property. And we were a bit shocked we were pleased when Tim sold it. We thought we were going to get a new neighbor. It's zoned residential. And we found out we're getting a trucking company. Sound barrier. These are things we're hearing for the first time. That appears to be a structure in the rear corner, which would put it awfully close to my sister's house. We really got used to this being a residential area. We're a bit shocked that this has gone this far, and this is the first we're hearing about it. I've got several of the River Road residents here, and anybody hear about this earlier?
That's the whole purpose of this. This is a public meeting where it's being proposed. This is the whole process working itself out. This would be the initial meeting. That's why the initial notice was sent out. You got the initial notice, if that is why you're here. And
I did.
Yep.
And so there will be other hearings. There won't be a decision on what's said tonight.
Sure. I can cover the procedures if you'd like. So tonight's hearing is, and public hearing, any decision made by the zoning commission would be either recommendation to approve, recommendation to approve with modifications, or recommendation to deny. That recommendation goes to the Board of Trustees, usually about a month or so after this meeting, and that's where any vote would actually take place that would or would not change the zoning map. I'll repeat myself later at the end, and I'll make available the whole process. I can print some out and have those available at the end of the meeting. So
You can understand our shock.
I can understand your shock, but this is the initial hearing on it. There's nothing else that's happened before other than just conversations with the property owner that they want to do this. We explain the process to them. This is the first step in the process. Other than you owning the property and you wanting to do the plan, that no one else would know that before that. So it's the first notice went out, and this is the whole the first meeting on the project.
So, yeah, not only is this the first meeting, but this is your opportunity as neighbors that are adjacent to give us your thoughts, pro and con. What are the concerns? What do you like? What do you don't like? And the applicant is to your right, and then they'll explain what, you know, what they're doing and what, like, for instance, the question of how many trucks, the 10 to 15. They'll let us know about that and the hours of operation and all that kind of stuff. But your role is to tell us what you think. It's a public hearing. It's for us to hear what the public has to say.
I think it's going to, this amounts to spot zoning, and I'm not a fan of spot zoning. I never dreamed I'd have a trucking company move in next door to me. I picked apples in this orchard 60 years ago. Never dreamed I was going to have a trucking company in there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Don Fritz.
Thank you.
For the record, could you please state your name and address?
My name is Dawn Fritz. I am Jacqueline Yuss' daughter, who lives at 7599 East River Road, the property adjoining this property. My mom is unable to be here tonight due to health reasons. We see no pros for this, many cons. As was stated, this was residential property. I understand this is a first meeting. A huge concern is how vague, if this were to be rezoned, how vague the guidelines could be. I was under the understanding that also there was going to be a house built on this property, and that the owner wanted a residence there and also wanted their company there.
That's correct.
And I must have missed, maybe I didn't catch
I
that
apologize.
when
Due
he
to
was speaking.
technical errors and due to some other things going on, I apologize. It's not my best presentation.
Would the owner of the business be occupying the residence?
Yes, ma'am.
Full-time?
I'll let them answer that for sure, but that's my impression at this moment. Yes, ma'am.
And what kind of hauling do they do?
I'll let them answer that. I'll let the applicant answer that question. I don't want to misspeak and set it off.
Gosh, I had a whole lot more questions that are coming. Unfortunately, they're not on this piece of paper, but traffic is already a huge issue there. Late afternoon, early evening, it's a nightmare. And to go putting a trucking company in there, you should come out and take a look at the traffic situation the way it is now. It's very difficult to get out of the driveways. Just totally wasn't expecting this. Be more than happy for it to be residential and have a nice home built there. Once, if I understood you correctly, once more is said, that then I may have the opportunity to ask more questions later.
That would be my recommendation, given that the applicant has not given their presentation yet, but that would be up to
Okay.
the commission.
Yes, we can allow for that.
And you know, and I mean, I think you're already saying at least 10 to 15 trucks, and that's to start with. What could this grow to be? It's just not good for the area, period. The traffic is a huge consideration. That's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you, miss.
Josh Ross? Or you're the applicant, well, okay. Paul Bowman.
He's a property owner.
Okay, we're at the property. Okay, Josh, if you,
Josh Ross from RVP Engineering. I'm the civil engineer that's working on the design plans for the project. As mentioned, this will be residential and business commercial, so they will be living there. The company itself is a hauling company, but it's not like they're going to a quarry on site bringing rock in and out. That's where the vehicles are maintained in the garage and parked for business. And then in the morning they leave, go pick up the material, deliver it to sites, and are out all day, and then come back in the evening, and then that's where they're parked. So it's not a constant revolving door coming in and out, making delivery. They're not delivering to that location. It's just a site to have your trucks, or like headquartered. The sound barrier itself, to give more clarification on that, is what you would typically see on a highway that's lined with residential. So you got your walls up that prevent the sound, but there's also, like I said, on the landscape plan, trees and landscaping that you're not, it's not like you're just going to have a wall that you're looking at. So that will be handled with landscaping per code. We have to like for projects, we have to meet the codes that are delivered to us. So same thing with landscaping, setbacks. So we can't be closer than we are allowed to be. But having almost 60 to 70 feet of separation is actually quite substantial than what you would see on a lot of projects. They would go right up to the line. So I think they're being pretty thoughtful in that respect. This is right next to US 27. So that's a highway that they can use to get to where they need to go. So business-wise, it makes a lot of sense to be in that location. But they will also be residents in the community, so it's not as if they want to not have something that I guess they are proud of, because they're going to be living on site. So I don't think they want it to be an eyesore or anything like that. So I'll also let them speak on their behalf on that. But just from a engineering and design perspective, I think it's pretty well thought of, or thought out in process. And I'm open to any questions that anybody has to answer design or engineering related. So I'll hand the floor over to the residents.
Mr. Bowman, did you want to? And then also for the record, state your name and address, please.
My name is Paul Bowman, and I live at 5516 Pate Road. I am one of the owners of HJ Hauling. My daughter is the other half of the owner. My granddaughter is sitting there. She's our secretary. She currently lives in Colerain Township. She's a resident. I was a resident for many years on Blue Rock Road. We recently moved to Indiana. Our trucking company is a small trucking company. It's a family-oriented trucking company. And our growth, we are at our maximum growth. We have 12 trucks at the time, and we have no intentions of getting any bigger. We're a dump truck company. We haul other people's product. We don't bring anything back to the shop. There's nothing that comes back there. We go in and out in the morning. We come back at night. My daughter is planning on living there. In the back section, in that corner where you've seen the building, that's where the house will be. Where that windrow comes around the side, that's the sound barrier that's going to protect the residents on the other side, from any noise that they would hear in the morning from the truck starting or leaving out. There's going to be no activity there after 6, 7 o'clock. Everybody comes in. Sometimes it's later this time of year because we got more daylight hours. But for the most part, our jobs start at 7 in the morning and they're over by 4:30, 5 o'clock. The guys come in, park their trucks, and go home. We're very aware of our neighbors. We want to be a good neighbor. We have no intentions of doing anything but beautifying the place and just basically trying to be a good neighbor. It's a good location for us. We can put everything on one area. We have a mechanic that does all our mechanic work. He's on Mosteller Road. He's going to continue to be our mechanic. So any heavy mechanic work or, you know, through the day won't go on there. It'll go on at Mosteller. The only thing that we would do there would maybe air a tire or change a tire or something that we would have to do just to get back to go back to work. But rest assured that, you know, we're all about Colerain. We've lived here. She lives here. We're going to continue to live here. And, you know, I think in the long run, in the scheme of things, I think that we'll improve the property and improve the area with our presence. If anybody has any other questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Or, you know, but we have no intentions of more growth. I'm going to be retiring in the next few years. Brooke's going to be taking over. She's going to be living there. I think it's something that would be desired. Thank you for the opportunity.
So, Mr. Bowman, just a couple of questions. One of the residents asked, will your daughter be living there full-time?
Yes, she currently has a residence in Colerain that I'm assuming once we get to that point, she'll either put up for sale or something and then move there full-time.
Okay, and the type of hauling, you said no hauling, that it is truck parking only.
Right. We're a dump.
With some very light maintenance, such as tire changing, oil changes.
Stuff like that, minimal stuff. I have some older grandsons that are coming about, you know, and we're planning on having them there to help, you know, just small stuff. Anything heavy goes to the mechanics.
Okay, and then for the size, the plan said 10 to 15, you're saying 12 with no intentions of.
Yeah, we've been in business for 25 years. Talking with Brooke and her growth plan, you know, the way we got it structured, you know, we're at our maximum capacity right now. So we've never been, you know, we've had a couple more, but usually we stay right between 10 and 12 trucks.
Okay, and then you said your hours of operation right now are 7 a.m. What time do your drivers arrive to pick up their trucks?
Well, we work mostly in the tri-state, so anything that we would leave from there with it being centrally located like that, we're looking at maybe a 30-minute drive time in the morning. So if a job was to start at 7:30, our drivers would arrive there about 6:30, start their truck, idle time, leave by 6:45, you know, be on the job, just depending, you know. We don't do, we only occasionally have ever did a night job to where we would leave in the middle of the night, but we don't. We're just daytime, you know, when job activities, daylight hours, we're construction related.
And then say you have your employees arrive at 6:30 and it's the middle of January. Are they going to be starting their trucks and letting them idle for a while to warm up? Is that going to be an additional?
There's really no more than a 15-minute idle time required in a warm-up on a truck these days. These newer trucks, they don't have to be plugged in. The guys need about 15 minutes in the morning to get the heat generating and the air build up. So in the wintertime, you know, it's darker in the morning, and you know, the start times move back till 8, you know, according to the time zone that we're in at that time. So, you know, they would be leaving a little later as the wintertime comes, but they don't. Idle time, the trucks only have a 15-minute idle time set on the trucks, and they'll turn off immediately. We don't idle no more than 15 minutes.
Okay, those are my questions. Commissioners?
I have some questions that are more from the engineer, though, so if you could come to the podium, sir, that would be helpful.
Thank you.
First of all, do you know what the setback would be adjacent to the existing residence? What that zoning setback is?
It would be on the plans.
30 foot is what you have up in that corner. There's a 30, so I assume it's 30.
Yeah, it'll be 30,
So 30 foot is the rear yard setback.
and that's for being next to a residential. Yeah, if it was less, or if it was a business, we would be able to be closer. But since it's residential, it's 30.
Okay, so that setback is in essence, nothing should be put in that, correct? In terms of a structure, a use?
Correct.
Landscape is okay? for
Correct,
the-
and that's why in designing this site, we have everything as far west and south as possible to be away from the residential, and have the thought process with the sound barrier. But it's not like we have the sound barrier and trees before we've landscaped on the other side, just so that it's not an eyesore.
So where I'm going with this is
Yeah.
30 foot is the requirement, and you've opted to make it at 63 feet. So an additional 33 feet of space away from that residence.
Correct. I think in the table it says that we're around 74 to 75% open space on the whole 3.5 acres, which is pretty substantial.
Okay, and my next question on distance is, it appears that you have 199 feet from the property line to, in essence, the first part of the commercial structure.
Correct.
Okay, so you're, in essence, let's call it 200 feet away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and in that 200 feet, you have a sound barrier that's, it looks to be 14 foot wide. So
7 feet wide. So
okay, the
total,
seven's
yeah.
not on both sides. It's just, okay, so 7 feet wide. What's the height of that, do you know?
Let me pull up the document.
Is it the document passed out? Today?
Yeah, it's but I think it can vary. So in this case, it could be as high as it needs to be. There's not like a set.
Thank you, sir.
So in my mind, it would just be tall enough as probably of what the truck motor would be, just so that the sound's not traveling through.
Okay,
So probably no more than 7 feet, like a privacy fence.
okay. All right. And then, so what I'm going here is I'm just trying to set for the neighbors kind of the stage of, you could be at 30, you've opted to be at 63, and you've opted to put the commercial as far to the, what's my direction there? I guess that's furthest east?
Yeah. West.
Or it's west, thank you, west, east of, be toward Fairfield Township, you're right, west. So you're to be commended for that. Now, they may not like the use, but in terms of the way you've used the parcel, and in terms of the way you've set stuff back, you've done better than what the zoning code requires.
Yeah, with engineering, we always, have factor of safeties and things like that to take into account of public safety. And we usually go above and beyond that, thinking of uses and placement of things because of, we do these hearings for every project. So we kind of have an idea of what the questions will be. And
Sure. So my next line of thought would be the actual parking lot itself appears to be gravel.
correct.
Is that correct? And the reason it's not concrete would be cost, or is there a structural reason that you don't put, where I'm going at is
Yeah.
the wind is gonna take that dust and just, the prevailing winds are taking it right toward that house
Okay.
that's adjacent. So is there a structural reason why it's not concrete or asphalt? Asphalt, I would think, would fold under the weight of the trucks, but concrete,
Correct. You could do heavy duty asphalt. You could do a reinforced concrete pad. Typically, the concrete would be cost prohibitive. You would do the asphalt ahead of that. But typically, it comes down to whatever the code says. So if it doesn't require asphalt, gravel's cheaper, but there'll also be subgrade below the gravel. So it's not like you're just putting gravel over top of dirt. There'll be a compacted subgrade of course that would be compacted, and then the gravel would lay on top. So
where I'm going with this is just impact.
Yeah,
I'm trying to understand that you've taken some steps to lower the impact of this more intense use on the residential with
Yeah.
regard to this distance. But I'm getting into the nitty gritty of what you're putting on the earth.
Yeah.
The type of pavement. Will it create dust? Does it create stormwater? I know you got a stormwater basin. Might want to explain that in terms of the water management.
yeah.
But right now, as I understand the plan, it's gravel.
Yeah, so it'll be gravel, and then there'll be some catch basins to gather the storm water that will have a concrete collar is what we call it around it, just so that, you know, you're not getting gravel down into the storm drain and things like that. But that will then be flowed to the retention pond shown in the northeast corner of the site.
Okay. And just to note, the only place you did pave was at the aprons, the one on East
Correct.
Miami River Road, and then at the.
Just coming in and off the road. That way you're not pulling the rock and gravel onto the roadway.
But you also did it at the single-family ranch, correct?
Correct. That way that their cars aren't taking
In
the.
the garage.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, well, I know when you were here, ma'am, in April, I was the one who said I had some concerns. I still have those concerns. And my issue is this, what my concern is that I didn't want this site to be similar to the Watson gravel that's down the road, similar to, there's a welder that's there. A lot of those are older uses, grandfathered in, but they have some similarities, gravel parking, parking that's not, it's scattered, it's not designed. You're obviously doing a design here that makes some sense. So that's my concern. I don't want to see what's there because I don't think really that makes a lot of sense to come up the hill, if you will, to be at this location. Now, I've asked the questions I've asked because you've taken some steps to try to mitigate that. I'm trying to understand in my brain, is that enough for me to vote yes or no? So that's kind of my line of questioning.
And keep in mind, we're gonna be living there too, you know, and we don't want dust. Whatever it is that needs to be done, we'll do, you know. I don't know that, you know, the gravel that we'll be using will be a big, you know, it'll have the base and then it'll be the big gravel. It won't be, you know, the chip and dust type gravel because of the truck that's coming, you know, the sheer weight of the truck. So I think that we can minimize that, and then with the windrow around, you know, I think that I don't know, I think we've really put some thought into
have.
it.
Your head. The only other item I have for you is that, just so that we're all on the same page, the commercial structure that you have
Yeah.
proposed, it'll have 6 bays of garage. Is from your elevation?
Yeah, let me get to the architectural. I'm showing 3 bays, but 6 doors. So
So-
you can pull in and leave out of the same
So what I'm
bay.
going with this is there'll be six means of ingress and egress.
Correct.
3 and 3, 3 on each, 3 on one
each
side.
Yep.
So 3 on the east side, 3 on the west side, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And your light mechanical work that you'll be doing in there, you're hoping that the sound wall kind of solves that, or it makes it reverberate back, or,
Yeah, and as they're saying, the light work would be airing up a tire. It's not going to be, you know, putting tires on with a giant air gun and all that noise that you would hear.
okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
I got a quick question. That has to do with fueling. Where are you gonna fuel the trucks at?
We currently have a fueling service, and they come by in the evening when the trucks park, and they fill the trucks up, and then they leave.
Okay.
We have no holding tanks or nothing of that nature.
Okay.
Commissioners, any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Ms. Fritz, I believe, I had promised that you could. Yes, let me,
Let's let them speak now, it's their turn, and then we can go to her.
yes. You will just need to state your name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
My name is Victoria Sherritt. I live at 7385 East River Road. I'm in Butler County, but I've lived there over 20 years. The noise level of the Jake brakes, the trucks, we hear it 24 hours. That is a main road that trucks use from Fairfield to 27. So you may not see the traffic because you don't live there. We see the truck traffic. For some reason, recently, within the last 2 years, speed limit has been raised to 45. It is difficult to get out of our driveways. The trucks, I work for a moving company, I know about trucks. They will have a hard time at 45 miles per hour. Where will the entrance be? Will it be close to the connector? Your PDF on your website does not work. You guys have all these pamphlets. We don't. It's not up. So I see all the pictures of the trucks and everything. We don't have that.
Morgan?
I looked it up
My apologies for that.
Wednesday or Thursday.
Yep. Well, but she was saying, we'll print some off right now. 1 second here.
So if you have traffic coming off
Yeah,
of
just
that
a minute.
ramp,
Thank you, bud.
then where is their driveway? How difficult is it gonna be to get in and out? And then also, I see that the commercial building is on the road and the house is back. What are we gonna see when we got off that ramp? It's a residential area. We all have nice houses that are set back. We have, I just wanna make sure that our land and our community is still pretty. That's all I want. The website shows mounds of dirt and asphalt. I want to make sure that that's not there. So I looked up your website, and that's what I saw. So I just assumed there would be dirt and asphalt there. So if this is going to happen, we just need some kind of modifications made to say that that's not going to happen. The resale value of it, it's going to be limited. It's going to be somebody who wants a commercial building for trucking. It's going to be hard to sell. He had previously stated his daughter was living there, and but no, he's going to live there too. No. So that's our concerns too, okay? I don't know if something can be done about the speed limit. I don't know why it was raised. It went from 35 to 45.
Unfortunately, that's a county road, especially if you're in the portion that's in Butler County. We definitely don't have any say over there.
Never responded.
The county engineer
There was
controls that. And
where they usually say, hey, speed change. We never got that.
Did
All of
it-
a sudden, one day, the speed limit said 45.
it's on the entire road in both counties?
Goes into Hamilton County.
Okay.
It goes down the hill where the other, like the welding company, it's 45. Yep. Okay. So just
Thank you so much.
considerations, okay?
Thank you, miss, for your input.
Thank you.
Thank you. Were there any other residential comments? Okay, one at a time, please.
The retention pond was mentioned. That pond's going to have to be redirected. The runoff is going to have to run towards 27. They can't run over under our properties.
Just to answer that question, we aren't legally allowed to do that. That's part of the Hamilton County design requirements. So that pond will be a retention pond that will hold a water level so that weeds won't be able to grow in there. That's what retention ponds are for. They're more aesthetically pleasing. Design-wise, I personally hate doing them just because they're more difficult because you have to keep water in there instead of just letting it drain out. But aesthetically, they don't have the forget the name of the plant, but it looks like a piece of
Cattails.
yeah. It won't have that in there because there will be water at a certain level, and then obviously the river is going to be the place that if we get 100-year event, that it would eventually be in the river. So
Please, if you're not at the podium, please don't make any comments, sir. If you wish to speak, please do so at the podium, please.
water will drain down to the lowest point, so being up higher would actually be advantageous at that point. So, but in the contours, you can see that the water is draining that way. So Open to any other questions as we move forward.
Maybe just to clarify, the water's draining into the pond,
Correct.
and then once it gets in the pond and comes to a level, it's gotta go somewhere.
Yeah.
Do you know from an engineering standpoint, be a culvert or whatever, where it's going?
Once it
Once it's-
overflows,
Once it's in the basin,
mhm,
and the basin gets overfilled, where is your either emergency or
yeah,
culverts?
so
or
we'll be required once we do the design documents through Hamilton County to have an emergency spillway, which will then have to be handled in flood routing to get to a safe location. As engineers, like I said, we have to factor in public safety and things like that. Otherwise, we would be liable. So,
You're not sure where that's at exactly yet?
well, right now it would, like, we don't have to have fully designed plans for the zoning meeting, but we've shown the pond location because there's an existing pond currently there as is. We're just going to utilize that existing pond to handle the new purpose of use, and then as that pond would ever overflow, we would have to get it to the river because we wouldn't want to put it on the residential. So there'll have to be a drainage ditch or something that would carry the water to that location. And it could be like you said, a culvert. There's a lot of options that we would have, but legally we're not allowed to put that water on someone else. We have to handle it on site and then have a way for it to go if something were to happen. Yeah.
Any other residents?
My name's Dawn Fritz. 7599 East River Road is my mother's property. I just wanted to see if you would clarify, when you mentioned 50 to 60 foot separation, can you, somebody just clarify for me what that's referring to?
I can tell you, I think I said it, and I can tell you where it's coming from. On that site plan, and not that one, but the one that has the arrows, I'll let the engineer go up there and explain that. It's not my role to do.
Okay, so this would be the corner of the existing,
Okay.
I believe it looks like a garage.
Yes.
A substantial garage at that. So this would be your property line. You already have a fence separating the property. So I'm showing 100 feet to the nearest, well, probably 82, I guess would be, but that's further away from your building. But 83 feet to the house. And then we have 199 to the building. And I think there was one, if you can go to, this is pretty parallel. You'll have about 67 feet to the sound barrier. And then the landscaping plan, if you can pull that up, I think helps.
The sound barrier will be approximately 67 feet from my mom's property
From
line?
the property line,
67 and then 63 as you come,
yes.
so it's not totally parallel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So 63 at its closest point.
And then this just shows the amount of trees that will be planted in between, just so that you're not looking directly in that 66. And then there's obviously plantings around the pond too as well, just so that if you don't like the view of the pond, you can plant trees there as well. There was questions about the entrance, which is shown here. That's strategically placed here so that as trucks are coming off to go back or back to the property, they will be just going to here, and if they are going, I believe that would be westbound. They'll be able to enter. And if they need to go the other way, it'll just be a short drive down to get to the other side. So really, it's centrally located. They're not anticipating trucks going that way. Now, obviously, if say the church decides that they need some hauling done, they would have to go that way just to get to that location. But I think doing as much work as they do in the tri-state, I think it's just advantageous to be near 27, and they have quick access on and off of that.
How big is the building itself that you were Not the house, but the building.
So the architectural plans for this
I'm just
show
waiting.
the
Let him do his thing.
overall building, including the office attached to it, to be 100 by 60, and then the house to be 74 by 25.
How many square foot house is that?
I have to do the math.
Yes, would the house need to be fully completed and occupied before the business could move in?
This wouldn't be, I mean, they can answer to that, but we're not doing this in a phased plan. I'm assuming that they would want to do it all at once. That's why they're going for the planned unit development of mixed use, because it will be residential and commercial.
And if for some reason down the road, I believe it was the daughter who's going to be occupying the home, if she wanted to move, could she sell the house to someone else and they still remain owners of the trucking company, hauling business?
As it's currently, they would have to split the property to do that.
Okay. And I'm sorry, how many square foot did you say the house would be?
Approximately 1,800.
Okay. And they couldn't go in and put the business in before occupying the house? Well, that's just what I'm trying to find out. That is a concern. That might be, you're telling me you think they're planning that. I would like to know, can they be operating that business before they're living in the house?
We could add as a condition of approval that that would not be allowed, if that would make a difference. But that'd be up to the zoning commission at this point, because I did not have that in my staff report.
Okay, thank you.
Did you?
So my name is Brenna Flannery. I work for H.J. Hauling, and I'm the daughter of the one who wants to live there. So,
Your address for the record, please.
so sorry, 6951 La Boido Avenue, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45239. So I actually did some research, and I bought a little sound meter because it's extremely loud over there, and we don't briefly want to live by tons of noise like that. So with the sound barrier wall, think of like a big giant sledding hill. We're gonna do tons of vegetation on there. And then there's tons of beautiful trees already on the edge of the property. So we're planning on keeping most of those all on the edge, and then even on the front.
Are you talking about the trees?
Yeah, it's very beautiful big trees back there. We won't do a lot of removal unless we need to for the house and just, you know, the office.
Pardon me, could you speak to the, to the
sorry.
zoning commission?
Yeah,
One of the things
for
we
the
try to
office.
avoid, one of the things we try to avoid from experience is that interaction between the crowd and the talker.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
thank you.
For the noise reduction, so far at the property around 3:45, it's not even during rush hour when the highway is actually even going to be occupied even more. It could be potentially louder. But I went out there and it even ranged to 75.1. And they
Excuse me,
yeah.
not you, I'm sorry.
Those in the crowd, please, if you're going to have conversations, either go have them in the lobby or we'll have to ask you to leave the meeting. We're trying to have a professional meeting without any interruptions. Please, help us facilitate that. Thank you so much, sir, ma'am.
The decibel readings, they range between 40 and 100. And currently at this location, it's at 75.1, so it's above 50%. So with the earth mound, we're actually going to be able to bring that down a little bit more. With standard highway research, when you do vegetation, as long as the sound barrier wall, it can decrease it up to 10 to 15. And that's our main goal, because we actually want to live there too and have some peaceful birds chirping, not listen to a highway and, you know, trucks going up and down all the time. So what I actually did is at a 6:30 start time for this summer, we have a current lot, they said about an acre of land. So about, past that acre of land, I got some trucks pull up to the front and then I have them turned on in the back as well. And the reading was about the same amount of sound that's currently already at the property. And not all of our trucks start and end at the same time. It's typically around like 2 or 3 if they're on the same job. So that's all. I just want to say that we're actually could potentially help the noise concern with, everything that we've been trying to do with the earth mounts. That's it.
Can I ask a clarifying question about that? So where will the earth mound be? Will it be under the sound barrier, or because you were saying that it's going to help the sound coming to the house?
Yeah, in the picture, it kind of looks like the wall, and it is a wall. So it's going to be like a big giant earth mound, and then we'll plant grass around it, and then potentially some really pretty wildflowers you can just throw down. But then there's going to be lots of trees on the edge as well on the outside of it. So it kind of will look like just grass behind trees.
Will that be on
From the neighbor side.
Will there be a mound on the west side to stop sound?
So we're gonna plan to park our trucks kind of near the road where you could, there's gonna be tons of trees already in the front that we're not gonna remove. So you can kind of see the trucks through it. But if you're going down the actual road for the main one farther down, you could see them. But that's just because we're gonna be higher up. But the, mound is gonna be on the other side, majority.
Any additional questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bachman, you look like you have something.
Just a question of the applicant. Would you, as part of your proposal here, amend it to have some type of a pavement that would not be gravel? That's not my question. Would you do it as part of this? I understand you'd consider it, but that's not getting it done.
Are you talking about the whole area or just like the entrance over to the, because a lot of it.
We're talking the whole area. Everything I see gravel here. And that's your decision. If you don't want to amend it, that's fine. I'm just asking.
Think about it.
It's fine.
Yeah. Oh. It's a big expense.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of limits the property too, as far as, I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay, that's fair.
Commissioners, any additional questions while we're in public hearing?
I wonder, could I ask Mr. Allig, just if you could remind me and possibly the other commissioners, if this, if the property owner wanted to sell in the future with a PDM, what are the requirements for a PDM? Could they sell freely to any other person who would like to reside here, or how does that work?
They could sell a property to any future potential property owner. However, the property would still be regulated by the existing approved PDP and FDP. So yes, they could sell it to whomever they like, but the property would only be approved with any conditions that are attached tonight at this hearing and then approved by the Board of Trustees. Or should it go through and be approved by the Board of Trustees, come back in front of the Zoning Commission as a final development plan. If any additional conditions were placed upon it, a condition could be, there would be a condition that the use is only approved for the single-family residential, and in this case, the trucking company, the 10 to 15 dump trucks, as we're proposing tonight. Any use that anyone would want to amend that would be the process we've seen here before. That'd be a major amendment to the PDP, and then or a major or minor amendment to the FDP. If you want to do different use, it'd be a major amendment to the PDP for us to go back and say, all right, we're going to amend this property to be some completely different use. Single family would always be permitted there. Does that answer your question sufficiently?
It does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mm.
Okay, so we do need a motion and a second to close the public hearing, please.
So moved.
I second that.
Mr. Alec, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bachman?
Yes.
Mr. Gehring?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall? Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. McMullen?
Yes. Okay, so we have our last opportunity for any additional questions or clarification. And if not, we have reached the point of we need a motion.
I motion that we, at this point, approve the request for ZA 2023-11 with the amendments and adjustments discussed.
Just for clarification, what amendments and adjustments have we discussed?
We discussed the wall, to make sure that the wall is as on the top of the berm, as mentioned. That the plans, that there's a, we're gonna have further detail on the water retention pond. Once that is decided, it'll come before us as well to review. Not that we've had any success with those in the past. Hamilton County controls that, I understand. But at least bring it back so that we can sit down and take a look at it.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion for approval in front of us, and it included the comments that Mr. Gehring had stated, so a wall on the berm and more details regarding the retention pond. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second before us. Mr. Allen, can we have a vote, please?
You sure may. Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall?
Yes.
Mr. Gehring?
Yes.
Mr. Bachman?
No.
Ms. McMullen?
No. So the motion carries.
Thank you very much. Cut up here.
All right, so if you do not want to stick around for the next public hearing or the remainder of the meeting, now is your time to be able to scooch on out.
Just for all those in attendance, if you're curious and would like to know, this matter should be before the Board of Trustees. You'll receive the same notice you received tonight. Their second meeting in September, I don't have that date. It'll be the fourth Tuesday in September. Where that is, this matter should be in front of the Colerain Township Board of Trustees. We'll issue the same public notice and the same mailed notice. Thank you so much for attending. Thanks for your input tonight. We really appreciate you.
All right. So next up, we have our second public hearing, which is zoning case ZA 2023-12, a text amendment for recreational marijuana. Mr. Alec, do you have a presentation, please?
I do. As introduced by Ms. McMullen, thank you for the introduction. Before us tonight is the case ZA 2023-12 is a text amendment for recreational marijuana. This was originally brought up back in March, actually March 14th of 2023 by the Colerain Township Board of Trustees. There's going to be a fun and interesting story that's happened in the time, the 155 days since then. But we'll cover it as quickly and as objectively as possible. But the reason we have the case before us tonight is because staff last meeting requested and received a motion from the Colerain Township Zoning Commission to initiate a text amendment, which actually does follow the ORC 519.12A1. So that's a nice way to do things typically. So at the point at that time, when we requested that motion from the Zoning Commission, myself as staff in this case, and then Mr. Peters and Mr. Becker, Mr. Peters, right? Yep, and Mr. Becker sitting to my right here, we had absolutely no idea that the Board of Trustees had any discussion on the matter whatsoever. It was passed to us that the trustees wanted just a flat or all-out prohibition on recreational marijuana, and that is what we were operating under at that meeting, July 18th, before you last month, and that is what the same mindset or information we had at hand and operated under until just this past Thursday. So, without further ado, this is just sort of a timeline of events that we've been able to sort of compile. This obviously, as you probably noticed tonight, the meeting was absolute chaos. The presentation was lackluster at best, and you have my sincere apology for that. Let's see, March 14th is when the trustees had a discussion regarding, there is it was sort of, I guess, just talk back then at this time, or at least in the early portion of the year, but I believe now it's been confirmed that recreational marijuana, or the decriminalization of marijuana, will be on the Ohio ballot, general election ballot, November 7th, I believe it is, coming up quickly. And it's the trustees' desire to research the topic, thoroughly research the topic, and there were 3 different proposals that each trustee sort of had their own take on what they'd like to see, reviewing that meeting. But anyway, again, one was a flat-out ban, one was a source of strict regulation, and then one was what I thought was nice, a creative, that one of the trustees had faith in that the zoning commission could come up with a creative solution to locate any of these facilities throughout the township. So then moving from March to June, again, same thing, all that staff, the individuals to my right, Mr. Becker and Mr. Peters, they did not start with the township until June 5th. So parts of that was Mr. Stephen Springsteen, and he's obviously left and gone to Anderson Township to do planning and zoning there. But so from that time, all that we had heard at this level was flat out prohibition. So that's all we had prepared. It was pretty easy to do because that's what the medical marijuana text amendment had in it. So all you have to do is change a few words. Sometimes planning goes like that. So moving forward, got to June, July. Again, we have weekly meetings with the development department. That would be the assistant township administrator in charge of finance and development, and then also the development director. Every meeting, that's all we heard. We didn't hear any update. So fast forward, I issued the public notice when I submitted that to the Cincinnati Enquirer. Same thing, included or attached with that or in mindset of was the same flat out ban. I delivered the packets late, but on August 10th, 2023, I left here, I think around noon or so, something like that, and went around and delivered them all. And by the time I got back, kind of came back and just made a joke to these gentlemen, and then our development director were in the same room. Like, you guys failed all the zoning commission because you didn't give me the date of the meeting. And then thankfully, Mr. Becker took that as a direct challenge. He found, at this point, we did not know the exact date of the trustee meeting that this had all taken place at. So Mr. Becker took that challenge, that little ingest, and delivered. We found the meeting, found the time. It was approximately 9-minute discussion on it. We listened to it, and we realized what we had presented to the zoning commission, to the public, was not at all what the trustees had indicated they wanted. So I spent Friday and Saturday and pretty much all day yesterday and right up until about 2 minutes before this meeting, trying to piece something together that I hope would, one, accurately represent the directives that the Board of Trustees gave to staff, and then 2, would also, depending on what option, if any, the commission would like to consider tonight, I believe they will help to mitigate any potential problems that could arise should this be permitted, if that's at all any interest of the commission. But I'll present those in just a second here. I'm going to see if this works. See if mine.
Now to something new and exciting in the AI space, Grammarly Go. It's a new product that offers
I don't like ads, so give me 1 second here. What I missed there? I missed another one of those pig jokes?
Utilizing a portion of Community Development Block Grant or CDBG funds.
Motion, we issue a request for proposals regarding sidewalk maintenance program.
I'll second. Discussion.
None.
None.
Ms. Orich?
Yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Wall?
Yes.
Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
All right, the next items of new business come from the Development Department, and that will be led by Mr. David Miller.
All right, first item is a motion to initiate a text amendment for recreational marijuana. And this motion comes from Trustee Wallert. And so I wanted to open the mic for you to kind of explain what your goal is here and how we can accomplish that.
So it's talking to various state lobbyists. It's my understanding that recreational marijuana will be on the November ballot. I have traveled extensively through the western United States and some of the areas where recreational marijuana is a reality. It's been kind of my episodic observations that that medical or that recreational marijuana outlets tend to create a blight in the neighborhood. The promised tax money, none of it will go to a township, it goes to the states. But the cost of any kind of crime associated with it then is borne by the townships because we pay for police and fire and things like that. So it's my belief that it's important to get ahead of this early. And, you know, I'm one of three, so I may be outnumbered. I don't want it. I don't want it grown. I don't want it sold. I don't want it distributed. Recreational marijuana products in Colerain, and I want zoning to figure out a way to make that happen.
All right.
So typically, there are a couple different ways that text amendments can go through the process. One way is for the Board of Trustees to create a motion to initiate a text amendment, which then would send this issue back down to the Zoning Commission. So, and then they will draft language, and that will ultimately make its way back up to you all through their processes. So I would, you know, if you all motion to open this.
Motion to initiate a text amendment on recreational marijuana.
And I'll second it.
And so my recommendation to you all would be to have a discussion that might provide some context, so as the Zoning Commission is contemplating what that text amendment might look like, they've got something to look to and some things that they've heard from you all as they go through
Right,
the process.
I think it's a bad idea. There's enough stone people out running around. I've looked at states that have it, and I'll use the example of Missouri and Kansas. The insurance rates are almost double on the Missouri side, and they don't have full-blown recreational, but this just is taking us down a road, the recreational marijuana dispensaries, and I just assume if we're gonna have them zoned somewhere, that our zoning commission comes up with a creative way to locate them. As Mr. Wallert said, you know, I do believe they bring along blight with them, so.
I don't believe they bring blight, and if it's gonna be a legalized sale, that somebody can bring a business if it's legal. I think we can minimize them like we did the vapes. You can't drive down Colerain Avenue anymore without smelling pot, so it's not legal, but they're still all doing it. And I don't believe it's gonna be a blighted area.
The statistics just don't bear that out. I mean, you could.
I know, I've been to Vegas, I've been to Colorado, I've been to, I've been where it was, and
But the crime rates in these areas that have it have gone up. They haven't gone down.
On the other issue, Matt, is that it's still federally illegal, and all these states are coming along and doing the things they're doing, but.
well, that's what they're talking about, the feds are gonna make it legal.
No, the state.
Well, the class I took up in Columbus, they said the feds are gonna do it.
I don't think the feds are gonna do anything about it, but I think the day is going to come when there's gonna be, you know, things tend to go back and forth like a pendulum, and I think the day's gonna come when the federal government's gonna take a position on it, but at this time, it's still federally illegal.
Right,
even
so
though
then it's a
states
moot point. We don't even have to discuss it if it's still federally illegal.
No,
We're not
because
gonna
it's
do it.
being decriminalized. It's not a moot point because the states are making the argument that they have allowed legally, as they've done, I think, 17 states. The federal government has just said, well, we're not going to weigh in on it. We're going to let states do what they want and yield to the states' rights on that. So if the state does legalize recreational marijuana, and I anticipate that vote will pass in November, people can go buy it and use it in Colerain if they want, if it's legal. But I don't want the dispensaries, the growing and the sale of it done here.
So what we're going to do is direct the zoning commission to come up with a draft based on our comments. Matt, is that what you're?
I mean, I sense that we have a split in the comments. I don't sense it's pretty clear.
Oh, I'm in total disagreement, so
Right.
I mean,
So you would have it unzoned and just.
I would think we
storing
should,
whatever.
just like a vape store, we've put a limit on vape stores, and they were saying that with the legalization, it's different. If they take it to another class, it's not gonna be a legal substance. So that's another area they're looking to discuss, because right now, cocaine's not even that illegal, it's a class 2, because they still use cocaine for eye surgery and nose surgery. So it's this ecstasy, meth, and still in that, but they're talking about declassifying that also
Right,
as
and I
not
think-
gonna be an illegal substance.
No, I don't think that the federal government is going to declassify that. And they just don't, they don't have any, the thing that bothers me is there's no longitudinal studies that show what this does to people. Does it damage people's lungs if it's inhaled with smoke? Does it lead to more depression? Does it lead to more suicides? Does it lead to more people driving under the influence? We don't have longitudinal studies because it's been verboten to kind of study that.
Well, it was legal till about 1953. And-
Right, we still don't have longitudinal studies.
Right,
And
but then when you go into a pot store, they don't just sell it for, not everybody just smokes pot. It's candies, it's all kind of different.
I get that.
And so if somebody does have it for depression, they can go in, or for pain, or for cancer, whatever.
And they can,
Ohio already has medical marijuana.
Huh?
I mean, people
Yeah,
can
you
do
didn't
that
want,
if you go get a
you didn't want the
license.
medical marijuana in Colerain Township because it was still a legal substance. You
Right, yeah,
said that.
that's true, but I mean,
Yeah.
I'm.
I just think
I'm
it's a
with
moot
Matt
point
on
till
this,
it's
and I think
legalized.
we should have it, well, now, see, with the fireworks, we didn't have that in our zoning. What Matt's trying to do is get out, get out in front of this, so we have something if this should come to pass. So I think it's very good to be proactive on this and have something in place so that if
All the
there is a vote
proactiveness
this
is
November.
there's none with what you're saying.
I guess I don't understand what you mean, there's no
Well,
proactive.
because you want to get the zoning out because you don't want any here.
Right.
So that's what you're wanting to put in the zoning.
Right.
Okay.
I proactively don't want it here. And that doesn't interfere with anybody's right to smoke it if it becomes legalized.
So would this resolution look something like the medical marijuana that prohibits it in all zones? Sounds like what Matt said.
Sale, growth, and distribution in all zones, yes.
Yes.
And there's still a chance at the end of the day that the zoning commission looks into this, looks at a bunch of different regulations and rules, and they make him come back with something that is different, and then we get to have that discussion and debate through a public hearing and other processes when it does get back here. This would just be the vote to tell the zoning commission that we would like you to start that process. It doesn't mean that there's a dedicated timeline by which it will get back here. That's going to depend a little bit on their schedule as well as internal staff and some others, but it does start the process for us.
Well, it's March, and I think it's fine time to start that process. It might take several months, and I'm fine with it.
Ms. Orich?
I guess just to get it started, yes.
Mr. Unger?
Yes.
Mr. Waller?
Yes.
Thank you for your patience getting through that. Back to the presentation here, and so after we watch that, we, me, I, us, realized that what we presented up until that point was not accurate, as far as each trustee had a different vision for what they wanted the zoning commission to evaluate and discuss, and then ultimately send back up to them. And despite the errors in staff who was present at that meeting, by not correctly quoting the ORC, what should have happened at that meeting in March is the trustees, when they did that vote, that should have created a resolution. That resolution should have been certified and then presented to the zoning commission the following month. That would have been April. We would present that certified resolution in the April meeting. That would give staff time to prepare a case of text amendment in May. That May meeting is where the zoning commission would evaluate the research we've done to address some of the issues brought up: crime, blight, other things like that, insurance rates, other things like that. And then after that meeting, same thing as today and whenever other cases, it'd be a vote from the commission after some discussion and evaluation and input and maybe modifying some conditions or something like that in the text. Then it would go back up to the board of trustees. And this would have already been done by now, because it would have been the following meeting after that zoning commission meeting. So when I saw that this Thursday, I realized there's a lot of work to be done to change this and try and propose some text amendment that address either one or if not all the trustees' desires on this. I believe we've done a pretty good job doing that. Mr. Becker and Mr. Peters have done an amazing job with all the work they've done in getting this done. You'd be surprised how hard it is to find the studies on crime, blight, stuff like that, try to verify them and go through that. Again, usually it takes staff doing that over a long period of time. We did that in a couple days, so it's a little hasty, but I believe we've got enough to go forward with if the commission feels the same. Just to sort of go over a few of the issues that were brought up in the meeting. 23 states and the District of Columbia, so DC, Washington DC, have legalized marijuana for recreational use. From our preliminary research thus far, blight does not appear to be immediately associated with deregulation of marijuana. And also, deregulation does not appear to have an immediate increase in crime in these areas. The packet, I believe, was, I believe I sent it to you about an hour before the meeting, the final revision. I contacted Trustee Younger to ask him, he made a comment in that discussion there that his insurance rates went up. I asked him what insurance rates he was, if he'd clarify what type of insurance. He would say automotive insurance. I guess that can have an effect in the area. I'm going to suspect, and this one, I don't like doing this, I don't know if that's the case as far as if it's based locally, like, so, i.e. like if marijuana is not legalized or permitted in Colerain Township, but it is in the state of Ohio, I do not have the answer of whether or not a resident's car insurance, automotive insurance would go up regardless because they just live in the state of Ohio, or if it not go up because they live in Colerain Township where it is prohibited. I don't have that information, but I would suspect, knowing insurance companies and all their willingness to always, part ways with money, I would suspect that it would probably be statewide, if not, greater than that. So that is information I don't have at the moment. So if you'd like that, we can get that for you, or at least add it to it. But anyway, if we could, there was sort of, it's on screen right now, and then each one of you get the thin packet that was handed out. It should say ZA 2023-12 text amendment on top of it. This is the version we have on the screen, the version to present. If you go 1, 2, 3. On the 6th page, you should see this is the original draft. This is what we had presented. That almost identically mirrors the medical marijuana, because we were told that all the trustees wanted was a flat-out ban, and that's what was presented. That's what was published on the website. I guess I don't know if it wasn't available or not, but had anyone showed up to the desk to review the documents as we're required to do by the Ohio Revised Code, all documents should be available at least 10 days prior to. That's applicant documents, stuff like that. That's what they would have received. And then, as I stated, there's been a few tweaks to that one coming forward based on what Trustee Wallard said. And then going through to, on the top, you'll see page Exhibit B. Get there on the screen, pardon me. Exhibit B and Exhibit C, pardon me, the version we have tonight in front of us does not have, I originally had this as either a permitted or conditional use in B1, B2, and B3. After Mr. Peters and Mr. Becker's input, I decided it was probably not the right move, and so it went to B2 and B3 only. So any use, if we were talking about it, or of course any modification could be done to it, we'd be looking at permitting it as either permitted with conditions or conditional use in a B2 or B3 zone only. And the Exhibit B was sort of specifically tailored to Trustee Ulrich's comments that she would like to see it here, but she wanted it to be strictly regulated. She mentioned vapes, how the trustees have a moratorium in vapes during that meeting that we just showed. I called her and asked her if that's what she meant to say, knowing that we have a moratorium that prohibits them or should prohibit any more. She said, yep, that was correct. And I also discussed with her that we currently have a census-based use, the alternative financial services, so sort of like payday loans, CheckSmart kind of places. Those are permitted on a census-based ratio. So you can have like 1 per thousands of residents in the last decennial census. With this text amendment, we've included an item like that. Presently before you is what we've drafted would be you could have 1 recreational marijuana sales zoning certificate permitted per 10,000 residents in the last decennial census. At the last one being 2020, it was 59,000 and change. So that would permit 5 at the moment, should anything like this go forward. And then additionally, I asked the law director to attend tonight, but I guess let the record reflect that they're not here. Because what I've included in here would be either an example or an idea, like we could have a special use zoning certificate, in this case, the census-based zoning certificate, and the fee for that could be a fee, say somewhere around the $10,000 range, where that could help bolster if there was some type of use or some type of negative use or effect that would be associated with this. Not only would it help offset maybe the extra police runs or anything like that, should there be any, it would also, help increase the revenue for the township, which would go towards that whole economic development thing that we're pushing for. But anyway, so for the census-based zoning certificate required, I'll read this real quick if you want me to, unless you want to skim through it. Would you rather skim through it on your own? Or would you rather have me read it? Maybe I should ask that. Okay. So we're proposing an amended section to 8.416, recreational marijuana sales. Recreational marijuana sales establishments may be permitted. It should be corrected to be in the B2 or B3 commerce districts only. And we're, let's see here, when the applicant can demonstrate compliance with the following conditions. A census-based zoning certificate would be required. Any applicant seeking a zoning certificate which would cause any structure, building, or land to be used for recreational marijuana sales shall demonstrate that the issuance of the zoning certificate will not increase the number of such recreational marijuana sales establishments operating within the township at that time to be more than 1 per each 10,000 inhabitants residing in the township, according to the most recent decennial census. I'll stop real quick. As I mentioned before, okay. Any lot containing recreational marijuana sales use shall be located at least 1,000 feet from any other lot containing another recreational marijuana sales provider. Any lot containing recreational marijuana sales shall be located at least 200 feet from any lot within a residentially zoned district. Annual renewal of any census-based zoning certificate issued for recreational marijuana sales shall be required. This is where the all zoning certificates issued for recreational marijuana sales, they shall expire on December 31st of the year in which the zoning certificate was issued. All applications for renewal shall be submitted prior to January 31st of the succeeding year in which the certificate was issued. Failure to renew a census-based zoning certificate issued for recreational marijuana sales by the stated deadline will result in the expired zoning certificate becoming null and void on February 1st of the succeeding year in which the certificate was issued. Any further use of the property for recreational marijuana sales shall be deemed a violation of the zoning resolution. And Part A, Roman numeral I would be the zoning administrator may grant a 60-day extension to the renewal period after January 31st, only if good cause has been shown for failure to renew the zoning certificate. The next portion would be discussing performance bonds. And so the Colerain Township Board of Trustees shall require performance bond, an amount to be determined by the board for a blight assurance performance bond and a criminal activity assurance performance bond. Any documented increase of either blight and/or criminal activity within a 1 mile radius from the boundary of any property that has been issued a census-based zoning certificate for recreational marijuana sales shall cause an immediate forfeiture of any bonds issued to Colerain Township by the recreational marijuana sales establishment or establishments deemed responsible for said documented increases. The amount of all required bonds shall be listed upon the Colerain Township fee schedule in accordance with section 2.11 of the Colerain Township zoning resolution. Any change in the amount required by bonds from the date a census-based zoning certificate was issued shall be due in full prior to any census-based zoning certificate being renewed. Severability specific to 8.4.16 recreational marijuana sales. Should any section, portion, or provisions of section 8.4.16 recreational marijuana sales be declared by the courts to be unconstitutional or invalid, such decision shall immediately cause all recreational marijuana sales to be a prohibited use in all existing and future zoning districts within Colerain Township. Any census-based zoning certificate not yet expired shall remain valid until December 31st of the same year in which the certificate was issued. Upon expiration, the census-based zoning certificate would expire and would not be eligible for renewal. Effective the validity of this zoning resolution as a whole as a typo and should have been, it was cleaned up in a different version, I apologize. Then at the very end, any individual applying for a census-based zoning certificate for recreational marijuana sales hereby agrees to all conditions listed herein and shall provide a signature as an acknowledgement of such. The signature upon application for a census-based zoning certificate for recreational marijuana sales shall be accepted as acknowledgement and agreement of all individuals and entities participating in recreational marijuana sales upon the property indicated on the application. And if you're still with me after that, thank you for your patience. And then a few definition updates. So census-based zoning certificate shall mean a zoning certificate of which the total amount that may be issued within Colerain Township is based upon a ratio that's directly correlated with the total population of the township as reported by the most recent decennial census. Marijuana shall have the same meaning, different spelling, the MAR with the J versus the H, as defined in revised code, section 2925.01 AA. Recreational marijuana shall mean any use or uses related to the cultivation, processing, or retail sales of marijuana, and any business structure, vehicle, trailer, or land used for the cultivation, processing, or retail sales of marijuana as defined within RC 2925.01 AA. So, one portion, the direction was a flat-out prohibition. One directive from a trustee was they want to see some strict regulation of it, but a permitted use. And the other direction was from a trustee was they wanted the zoning commission to come up with a creative way to regulate this, if one exists. I know this is very impromptu, and again, my apologies for that, but I believe we have presented such. And then the only difference between Exhibit B or C is that Exhibit C would make any of these uses a conditional use, which would require an application and approval from the BZA, which would be simply an added level of protection where the same way the zoning commission gets to add, conditions of approval or something like that, the BZA could do the same thing. Should an application come in, should there be some kind of question, maybe as to the legitimacy of the company or something like that, or how good of a corporate partner they are, that type of thing. If i.e. they have a bad reputation throughout the nation or something like that, or if they have a great reputation throughout the nation, something like that, or some other factor, the BZA could, if they wanted to at that point, add conditions of approval in a further attempt to help protect the township. And for staff recommendations, staff recommends for approval of case ZA 2023-12, text amendment recreational marijuana is presented within Exhibit C to permit the sale of recreational marijuana as a conditional use within B2 and B3 business districts. And I'm going to do something I rarely do. I'm going to pause and take a breath. And does anyone else have anything to say on staff? Before we...
Yeah.
Is your mic on? Thank you, sir.
I'm David Peters. It was brought to us as though the only option was prohibition totally. And so originally I just added a line in the use chart that just blacked everything out. But we thought we'd present some more options. So it's totally open with everything able to be changed. And in the research I did, there's not a long track record where you can look and see a whole lot of facts. But there's not a whole lot of facts against. So blacking everything out on the chart totally and wholly I'm not sure it would be appropriate that would be the only option anyway. So with that.
If I can ask for clarification, when you're saying there's not a lot of facts against, we were unable to discover statistics that seem to indicate that blight was directly tied with the legalization or decriminalization of it, or that crime was directly tied as a significant increase or decrease with it. It's just to try and put those facts forward to the zoning commission. Is that correct?
Crime has gone up everywhere, and I couldn't find any correlation between blight and those 23 states.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Then also, I do have this handout right here. This, in accordance with Waterford Township, this is in Michigan, just above Detroit. Very similar circumstances to Colerain Township in regards specifically to crime and the introduction of retail, recreational marijuana. I have made extra copies of this. I can pass this around to you guys later if you'd like.
Is interested in researching their zoning resolution in Waterford Township. Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the word marijuana comes up 233 times.
Yes,
And it's like a 260-something page zoning resolution. So it's mentioned there an exorbitant amount of times. I was shocked to see that. Little side note, little fun thing in planning you almost never get. But I believe at that moment, for the most part, that concludes staff's report, unless you have anything further.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm sure commissioners have questions for staff, so we should probably just go straight to our public hearing. So can we have a motion and a second to enter into a public hearing?
I'll make the motion for a public hearing. I'll second.
Mr. Allen, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bachman?
Yes.
Mr. Gearing?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall? Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. McMullen?
Yes. Okay, so first, just wanted to show that we do not have anyone signed in to speak at the public hearing as members of the public. However, one of my concerns on the reason that we probably don't have anyone here is because it was advertised as we're prohibiting and not potentially having other discussions about marijuana and possibly really bad. Possibly not, or possibly approving a way to have it. So it is a little disappointing to me because we would want to have some feedback from the public. We do have a few people in the room, and I just wanted to ask, was there anybody who is in the gallery that would like to speak?
If you would, sir, please state your name and your address for the record. Thank you very much.
Carl Hauser.
No favors here. No favors here, sir.
2529 West Kemper Road.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I got a couple questions on this bond that you're talking about. Is that two bonds of $10,000 apiece?
Oh, I should have clarified. Thank you. Again, this has been one of the most hastily prepared meetings, which is saying something because it's that's a good bar to hit sometimes. The zoning certificate itself would currently, we're waiting for legal review, and I had only provided this to the law director today. But again, the law director's not here, so would be the zoning certificate itself, the special zoning certificate, given the nature of the use we're talking about and the ambiguity of effects it could have, either positive or negative on the community. The certificate itself, just a ballpark arbitrary number, would be $10,000, and permitting only 5 of those in the township, that'd be $50,000 per year, and then they would expire at the end of the year and then renew again. So where Trustee Wallert had said a big concern of his was that the state gets all the tax revenue, but the township gets all the burden associated with it. That was staff's idea to try and help us offset that, should that be the case. If the statistics bear that out, or if maybe the statistics that we found don't, but if the reality here were to have an extra $50,000 per year come to the township that could be put into extra patrols for police, something like that, that would be that. The bonds, again, same thing. If anyone has any ideas, Mr. Bachman, maybe you've dealt with this a lot in your career with this. I don't think we've done a whole lot here that I could find in Colerain Township. It's mentioned in our zoning resolution under our PD process in 4.5. The trustees can require a performance bond for someone doing a planned district if there's questions there. So again, out for law review, legal review. But if we were to require, if the township would require a $50,000 bond, a $250,000 bond, if someone sees that as being a value to do here, right? If you know, from a business profit loss standpoint, if it makes sense, given the market that we have here, the connectivity, all that kind of stuff, yeah, we do want to locate that bad at, Colerain and 275. We will pay the $10,000 fee, and we will ante up and give a $100,000 bond, because we are confident our operation will not cause blight, will not cause crime to increase. We will be a good corporate partner. All right, if you want your zoning certificate, and you want to come and do this use in Colerain Township, that's the cost to do it here. And then if they were to, not be a good actor, have some type of violations if we have an increase of crime or police runs to that specific place or within a 1 mile radius, again, all these numbers could be changed one way or the other. But if you want a half mile, if you want a 2 mile radius, if you want a $100,000 bond, a $200,000 bond, whatever you think it would be appropriate to help offset any potential risk that was presented by the trustees, where, and again, they could amend that as well too if they wanted, right? If they thought one was too little or not enough, it would at least give us something versus what we presented thus far.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else in the audience? Nope. Okay, commissioners. What type of questions do you have?
I'm never shy with my questions. I have 2 points to make, if you don't mind. First off, why are we talking about marijuana and not marijuana and abortion? Because the realities are that abortion is illegal now at the federal level, as I understand it with the Supreme Court ruling. Marijuana is illegal at the federal level. It appears that abortion is going to be probably legal in the state of Ohio, okay, after November. It appears that marijuana, recreational marijuana, is going to be legal in the state of Ohio. So they're both the same situation as I see them. Why are we talking about one and not the other? I don't know. But then the second point I have to make is I'm a military veteran. I took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States and all federal laws. That didn't expire when I got out of the military. And right now, like it or not, it's federal law that that marijuana is illegal. So as long as marijuana is illegal, my vote's not going to change. It's going to be exactly the oath that I took. And I think I took the same oath when I took this office. Didn't I raise my hand? And part of that was to say, it's been a while, that I will enforce the laws of Ohio and the federal government. Is that the case, Jared?
I believe we say we uphold the Constitution.
Uphold the Constitution, okay? So the fact of the matter is, I think from my perspective, I'm in the same case there as all of us, at least as I interpret it, are, to say, until the federal government legalizes it, what are we talking about it for? So you tell me, based on those beliefs, should I recuse myself or should I just say no? No, I'm never going to approve it. I'm never going to want to discuss it because to me it's illegal, and I took several oaths in my life that says I will not go against the federal government.
Thank you, sir. I as well took that oath, and I have seen some of the things the federal government has done to some people. So every once in a while, but I appreciate that very much.
These would only take effect if it became legal. So we're just setting up the groundwork.
But you're setting up the groundwork if it becomes legal in Ohio. If it becomes legal in Ohio, it's still illegal at the federal level. So until those two get aligned, I'm sorry.
Well, if I could just sort of restate too, though, we had only one version told to us prior to Thursday afternoon. All we are trying to do today is present something that seemed to capture each one of the trustees' directives. So I'm not.
I appreciate all the work you put into it. I can see that, and that's very nice. It's appreciated, believe me. It is. And that's what you were instructed to do. I agree.
Couple thoughts. the whole issue of being approved by the state of Ohio, obviously that's something that would be in the resolution, probably approval, if approved by the state of Ohio, this is the zoning, so, because certainly you wouldn't want this on the books without that.
We can try to really get risky if you want to. No, no, we don't want that.
A couple thoughts. One, I like the census-based. I think that's a really unique idea, and that kind of limits it in the township then for 5. I think that's well thought out. I would make the distance greater. The 1,000 scares me a little bit, and here's the reason. If you think about Colerain Avenue and its length, 1,000 feet could just be the next strip center down. And that really then becomes a concern when your bond certificates or your bond reach area is a mile. So in theory, you could have 3 of them in that 1,000-foot distance from each other. That which one then is responsible for that 1,000 or that 1 mile radius of the concern of the blight and or the criminal activity? Follow what I'm saying?
And I would counter with, wouldn't that be beneficial to us though? If it.
What I'm saying is I think I would make that 1,000 greater, much greater.
So the separation greater.
Yes.
But then the buffer area was a 1 mile buffer area.
I would keep it that.
Okay, so what would you?
Well, what I'm getting at is if you keep it at 1,000, in theory, you could probably have all 6. We could have 5 of the 6, I'm sorry, 5 of the 5 within a mile radius.
Yep, close, yep.
Okay, for sure 4.
Yep.
So where I'm getting with this is if the law director is good with the bonds, because I've not used them to answer the question.
No, okay.
I have never used a zoning.
Someone used it Dearborn County, so I just.
I've never done it.
All right.
If indeed that is acceptable, I guess that distance is scaring me a little bit, that which one is responsible for the increase? Since there could be 4 of them in that mile radius. You follow?
I follow.
And I don't know the answer to that.
Well, that's the great thing about having this discussion is I didn't even think about the overlapping buffers.
Right.
Not matching with the
That's
distance.
just what
So
I'm
thank you
thinking
very
about.
much for providing, thank you.
Just
I guess that's supposed to
thinking
go.
through that a little bit. I guess I got some real concern about a conditional use in residential. I think you should just say no in residential.
No, residential would be, I'm sorry, that mistake, it'd be completely prohibited in all residential. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
I was of the
misspoke.
opinion you were,
I'm sorry.
okay, the conditional was only in
I apologize, yep.
only in,
B1, B2, B3, no B1.
okay.
What our current.
No, okay, so no residential.
That's all it's a
I was
show
confused
tonight,
on that.
So just to clarify, for B2, B3 districts only.
Okay.
Either permitted with conditions, well, flat out prohibited in all districts, which sounds like some people would want, permitted with conditions in either B2 or B3, or conditional use approved only by the BZA in B2 or B3.
Okay. And then you remember on our last meeting when we had the whole discussion about penalties, we had a whole debate and a lot of input on the peer townships. And my question, I know you guys have probably only done 4 days worth of work. Have you looked at the peer townships with regard to this issue of recreational marijuana? And if you have, how does Colerain, or how does this stack out?
The short answer is, and this is something maybe more of I don't know, and we have not looked at peer townships. Given that this is not legal yet, we might be among the first, if not the first, even to get to this stage. I say without looking. I don't know, is what I should say. I've not looked. I don't know.
That's fine. Yeah.
Columbus is not a township, but they've set some of the groundwork to what they would approve and what the buffers would be. They have a 500-foot separation between.
Okay. So that's really close. You're at 1,000 and they're at 500. Okay.
A township in Michigan, where it is legal, even though it's federally illegal, they have a whole bunch of different regulations and rules on it in their zoning ordinance. It's called Marquette Township, not to be confused with the city of Marquette. So that's an example of a neighboring state.
Mm-hmm. Well, from what you guys said, there's 23 states and the District of Columbia that have approved recreational marijuana. Okay. Even though the federal government said no, there's still state rights, and 23 of those states have opted to go that path.
That's my understanding.
Wrong or different, they've done it.
That is my understanding. That is correct. Yes, sir.
And all you're trying to do is get ahead of it, as one of the commissioners said.
Yeah, the trustees instructed.
Should the state constitution be changed, should the legislature do it themselves, either one of those courses of action, his thought was, let's get ahead of that through a zoning ordinance or zoning resolution ahead of time.
Yep.
And that's all you're trying to do.
That's correct. And we're just, the biggest thing that changed is where we only knew one version from out of the 3. Now tonight we're discussing the other 2
That's fine.
What I, what my synthesis of the other two, or our synthesis.
My last thought is, I agree that the whole public hearing process of, if you looked earlier and you saw it was prohibited, maybe you didn't have an issue. So I think that's kind of tainted myself. So I don't know what that does to your timeline, but it might make sense to have another public hearing when you guys flush this out from the law department, the law director, excuse me, that they get it where you're comfortable with it, and then have that public hearing. That's more appropriate to a real ordinance and not kind of where you thought you were going. A real resolution. I'm sorry, I just keep ordinances and departments.
I understand. It's the thing. That's a great idea, and that, I thank you very much, Ms. McMullen and Mr. Bachman, for bringing that up, because again, we have tried to cram an immense amount of work in a very, very short time frame, and we have missed some things clearly. And again, that's what this process is intended to do, is to see where we're short-sighted or blind-sided, whatever it is. I said, based on all this, possibly one of the best recommendation might be to continue this public hearing to next month.
That'd be fine.
We can reissue the notice to have it include all three options or other options and some of the modifications you've seen. And then that way we have hopefully a more legitimate process that will receive less blowback from people who like to highlight our insufficiencies. So it would be great. I would always advocate for the most we can do to be as transparent and as accurate and correct as possible. And we'll try to do that. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and frankly, you guys have done a great job in the 4 days that you had, and I understand watching that tape that there's other opinions, and sometimes those opinions are kind of hard to, how do I put that into a zoning resolution? How do I put that into a land use discussion? And you've done a very good job, first take, so you would be commended for that.
I think these two to my right, so.
Can I say that we don't all agree?
That's fine. Well, we don't agree.
No, that's
I mean,
not
you saw
true.
that today.
They have to agree with me. That is not true. Turn his mic off. Sorry, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. Yeah.
Well, that's what public hearing's about, and that's what the process is about. Yep.
Yep, simply put, this is our attempt to try to draft something based on each trustee's directive of what they said in that 9-minute portion of their meeting a few months ago, well, quite a few months ago. And so I don't think by any means continuing this for one more month is gonna, we're months behind what they wanted anyway, so.
Right, and for my 2 cents, I lean towards Exhibit C as well, because I believe, the state does have rights to some determining. That's why we have congressmen and state reps and everyone out there trying to do the will of the people. However, these, from what you've said tonight, they haven't been vetted by our law director, and it's pretty disappointing that some things that if we are the very first in the state to present these, that the law director didn't come to help guide us through these as well. So I would like to continue it, as you said, and ensure that we have some law representative here next month, so that way we can have a dialogue and make sure that what we're putting through to the trustees is also vetted to make sure that what we're doing is legal.
I always like to try and do things as legal as possible.
I agree.
So thank you very much. I'm not trying to be, I've requested the law director to be in attendance, but
no, I understand, to just, for us, we're a group of residents trying to do what's best and, our collective agreements, and we have questions, and we didn't have very much time to digest it, not to anyone across the room from us, your fault, but it would be great to have some dialogue going back and forth, and us to be able to take these home and to read them, cross through, and, really digest it.
Mr. Wilson?
I just would echo what has previously been said. I think it's wise to put it off a month, let you all do some more work. I just want to commend you for the work you have done and the speediness with which you have done it. But yeah, I think it's worth letting the public hearing, be a bit more valid next month. So yeah, I'm all in favor of that.
Thank you very much for your input on the matter.
So then you will need a motion from us, I'm assuming, to continue the public hearing until next month, correct?
I think first we have to close the public hearing. Well, yes, I'm sorry, don't close it, don't close it. So, yep, so just we'd make a motion to continue this public hearing to the next regularly scheduled zoning commission meeting, which is September 19th.
Yep.
Whew, every once in a while, the brain works still. So September 19th, if anyone would entertain, if any of the commissioners would entertain a motion to
Yes, so
continue
I'll make a
KC,
motion
okay.
to continue the public hearing for zoning case ZA 2023-12, text amendment for recreational marijuana until the next scheduled meeting on September 19th, 2023.
I'll second that.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. We'll start with Mr. Gehring,
Sure, yes.
Mr. Westfall, Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Bachman.
Yes.
Ms. McMullen.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Next month's going to be a fun month. I do hope that we have members of the public that come out.
I have a strong suspicion we're going to have a lot of members that come to next month's meeting.
That's good. All right, so we are on number 8, no informal concept review. And that brings us to old business.
All right. So, I believe I included this in the pack I sent out. It's been a crazy couple days. Just want to give you an update. I don't know if we've really done this much or well enough in the past. KCA 2023-10 was a text amendment for violations, if you guys remember that hearing last month. The commission voted to approve with modifications, and the feedback, the modification was to add a fee schedule, a violation or penalty schedule. I just want to show the commission what I've created so far, and this is what will be presented to the Board of Trustees. Just again, so you know when you tell me something, hopefully I've done it, or if I missed something, then hey, you missed something, you need to get that. So that's what this is for. So this again, I hope it showed on the website. We'll have to check that out. But again, anyone could have come to the front desk to get a copy. All the portions in the blue, the color blue, are the portions that were added based on our hearing last month and the feedback from the zoning commissioners. And really it's just breaking down the first, second, and third offense and any subsequent offense to the third offense, and just how that would play out based on what is already law in the Ohio Revised Code, and what we're just now reiterating and incorporating into our zoning resolution in an effort to and hopefully in an effort to start curbing some of the violations and get some better results for those who violate, or found guilty of violating. Let me clarify that. So, if anyone, did you have any comments on review of that? Did that seem to address and hit what you guys were looking for? Guys and gals? Really just breaking down the offenses and then an individual, and then either an agent or officer for an organization, and then the civil penalties that an organization is subject to should one of their agents, officers, et cetera, be found guilty. All the same stuff, just sort of expand. I don't know if there's any comments on that or anything to say on that. No? Okay.
Yes,
Nope.
please.
What's that?
For page 3B and then page 4C. Oh, I answered my own question. Never mind.
Those are the best questions we get.
Right. Well, I remember looking at it before when you had sent it to us, and I was thinking that they seemed so similar. Oh, no, actually, it was A
and B should be almost identical.
Okay.
It's
that's
just
what it was.
clarifying an individual property owner who's not a member of an organization, and then a member who is an individual who is a member of an organization, i.e., if you're a corporation that owned a property in Colerain Township, the agent or officer responsible for whatever the duties are can also be held personally liable as if they were the property owners themselves. Basically, is what the ORC states. It's just us trying to bring that down and clarify that at our level, and hopefully being able to get some adjudication on the matter.
And then organization equals business.
Yep. So, corporation, LLC, something like that. So, yeah. So,
No, I liked what you guys put together. I thought Mr. Buckman at the last meeting, asking for the tiered approach was the right way to go, and you took the directive well and gave pretty clear instructions on if someone in the future has an issue, here you go, you can hand it to even a resident, and they would be able to figure out what they're in violation of.
Hopefully, and it was a tall order to try and synthesize the ORC and bring it here like this. So hopefully we'll see if it works. If it doesn't, we'll modify it and keep moving forward. Thank you, though. And thank you for your feedback on the matter. And then also, if I can, just real quick statement, we had one case that had initially, we had our initial hearing for on August 8th, 2022. And then on August 1st, 2023, we received, the individual pled guilty and received a $160 fine. So that was almost just under a year. That's I promise you in the future we will have a much better turnaround time. Well, yep, but thank you so much.
So do you need any action from us?
No, if there's no feedback, nothing needs to be changed. That's just, that is what's been submitted to the development director, David Miller. Is he here? Oh.
No.
Okay, he'll be presenting this, I guess, to the Board of Trustees. This is what I submitted to him and to go up and be included in their agenda on the 22nd? Tuesdays from now, one Tuesday, next week, whatever it is. The next meeting, they should have that there. So if there's no changes, though, it'll be that and going forward. And that's all we have at the moment for old business.
Great. So new business.
All righty, so for new business, staff would like to request a motion from the zoning commission. You guys are going to get tired of these. To amend the zoning resolution to the next page, it might make more sense here. Staff requests a motion from the Colerain Township Zoning Commission to draft a text amendment to Article 4, requiring that the same staff member who provides a text or map amendment to the Colerain Township Zoning Commission be required to also present to the Colerain Township Board of Trustees, and that all zoning functions and positions be separate from economic development functions due to recurring conflicts of interest. And what this stems from is, we've had some pretty big discrepancies where information details that's gotten out here has not been presented to the Board of Trustees. And then further on that would be, there has been a few instances now, it's happened a couple times, we're on the second time now, where we have had an attorney for a business located within Colerain Township contact someone higher in the chain of command, and then that person has instructed the zoning administrator to do things that are either not as listed within the ORC, or are contrary to what's listed in the ORC, or are contrary to a condition of approval by the zoning commission, or, and also in that case, being that that's captured in the zoning resolution, that would be contrary to the Colerain Township zoning resolution. So if you would, if they deem, if anyone were to deem that to be a prudent matter, staff is requesting a motion to draft a text amendment to hopefully help remove that from being a problem, if possible.
I will make that motion.
And I'll second it.
And if we can have a roll call, please.
Mr. Bachman?
Yes.
Mr. Gehring?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. McMullen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to administrative reports, and you wanted to.
So this one, I was hoping I'd have more time to get a, I don't like giving problems, or just, just mentioning problems and gripes and all that good stuff without having a solution. And I know there's been many times with the minutes, that's kind of, you know when I'm back talking, I think, or back pedaling, and you know when I'm shooting straight. I don't have a good excuse for that. We have some new members. I was hoping we'd kind of get some things done quicker, but long story short, by next meeting, we'll either present some solution that will help staff enable us to more easily and more efficiently capture and produce the minutes in a very accurate manner. I detest that I presented, the discussion over the bylaws, trying to water down that, because that's not what we wanted. That's not what I want the department, the type of department I would want to be a part of. It was just, unfortunately, given all the other things going on and the lack of additional staff at the time, a way to try to just make it through. Anyway, long story short, either I was thinking some type of proprietary microphone system, so it'll be set up in front of each speaker, possibly some type of lapel pin, something like that. I don't know if anyone would be willing to do something like that, but I don't know if anyone has any ideas or discussion, or if by chance in the next few days or weeks you come across an idea of something that looks like, hey, that might help these guys get this done, then I'd love to get some input on that. If anyone has an idea or way to be more efficient at that process, we would appreciate it.
So you're speaking a device that will do transcriptions, because in my line of work, we have tried that, and every single word that is said will end up on your transcription. And say I'm speaking the same time that Mr. Bachman's speaking, it will intermix some of the conversation together, so just be cautious of that if that is what you're speaking of.
That's sort of exactly what I was thinking. I was just hoping that they would have one where your microphone would be proprietary to you, and it would just have your transcription. Mr. Wilson's for him, Mr. Bachman for him, and then even if there was overlap, it'd be caught up in there, and we'd at least have it there. I'm definitely open to any type of solution. I appreciate the caution.
Fancier. Ours is a Microsoft product, so you get what you're paying for. So ours comes with our software subscriptions. So there might be something a little fancier.
Perfect. Well, try and find it, and I got to run it past my actual boss, and if she's okay with me spending that, I'm going to do it to help us catch up on some stuff. So thank you very much for the input on that. Again, if anyone has any ideas going forward, that's what we'll do. Currently outstanding June, July minutes, and then tonight's minutes will be due. So hopefully we'll have all those ready to go in September. If not,
Do you guys keep a tape recording of the meetings?
we do not keep a tape recording, but Waycross does have always, as we just watched the trustees meet on YouTube, they do the same with our meetings as well.
Where I'm going with this is state records, the state records retention to you. I don't know what the township is for is there one for, if you don't have a record, I guess there's nothing to maintain.
So, well, it'd be our minutes in this case. So the minutes that we present.
That's where I was going, was to make the minutes much less and say there is a tape recording of this.
Oh, okay.
That if this is unclear, you can go to this particular tape. That's where I was going with it.
So
Can you say there's a video?
Well, on that line, I've talked to and maybe might reignite it. I will search that if that's a possibility where we could say, hey, there is either an audio or video, audio and video recording. Dana has been in Waycross; they've been great. She's offered that to us, so if that will suffice and hit all issues, that'd be great. The minutes would just generally record what we said. And then we would also say, for a specific transcription, see that would save us a ton of time.
That's what I have seen done before. The problem is those tapes then are official public record, which is fine, but the state then has, there's records retention of when you can destroy them. And it could be like 5 years, so you got to store all those tapes in for 5 years.
Luckily, our
Whatever it is.
IT director is pretty awesome. He helps us store some data pretty well, and he's protected very, very robustly. So I'd be confident that, or I've already purchased we'd be able to address that. But thank you so much, and we'll look into that. And that'd be a great thing, because same thing, we'd be accurately recording the votes and be a quick, typing that up. But then at the same time, should something come up later on, or because sometimes these things don't come up for 20 years, right? We had some cases before us that they were approved in 2002, and we found out in 2019 they were completely in violation of stuff. So you have to jump back to the minutes from 2002, and I don't want, when I'm gone in 20 years or much sooner, considering some of the things that have gone on tonight, then I want someone to be able to go back and have an accurate representation of what happened at that meeting, and then not have the zoning commission, the trustees, or Colerain Township in general pay the price because we didn't have the resources to do some pretty basic stuff. So thank you so much. We're looking at that and have that solution presented next month.
All right, so number 12, announcements.
Alrighty, again, it was the Gen 1 kind of stays in there all the time. Colerain Township, KZF, Zone Co, Comprehensive Zoning Resolution Amendment Update. We got some sort of big things planned for this month, and then that is, we have a subject matter expert coming in to talk to us, to give us their opinion of the process that's been done of taking the Colerain Comprehensive Plan and merging it with what's been presented by KZF so far. And I had intended to attach those documents to the packet for tonight's case, but that was prior to Thursday. So, at next month's case, kicking the can in more ways than one, that will be added to that packet. So, I'm sorry, it'd be KZF's diagnostic report, where that's where they said, hey, we looked at the comprehensive plan, we looked at your current zoning resolution, here's what fits, here's what doesn't fit. So that'll be added to the packet if anyone, if the discussion wants to happen on that. And then also the preliminary, the draft proposals they've given us for our, the future permitted use table, the lot development standards, and sign standards. So just make those available. That we have them, and I was hoping to make them available. Now, they're available if anyone wants to stop by and grab them, first off. Maybe we'll just flat out just add them to the website like tomorrow or tonight or something like that if I'm allowed to. And put them up there so people can see that, just to, again, let them see what's been done and what's happening, and let the township know what we did with, I think it was like $98,000 of their money. So, and then hopefully make sure we're still on track to have this, presented in a cohesive, rapid manner, probably first quarter of next year, 2024. So somewhere hopefully before March of next year. So there's a lot going on, a lot of fun stuff. And that concludes staff's announcements.
All right, so next meeting is scheduled for September 19th. And
Currently, given tonight's matters, we would have, what we have scheduled, we have an application for final development plan for case ZA 2023-09, which would be the Wawa. And then also we would have ZA 2023-12, the case that was continued tonight to public hearing. The FDP will not be a public hearing. That'll simply be before the zoning commissioners. And but the case, obviously, ZA 2012-23 would be a public hearing, the continuation of it. So we advertise properly that there's more than one use classification, permission versus prohibition being presented. Thank you very much, commissioners, for catching that and for having us do it the right way. We appreciate it greatly.
thank you, guys. All right, so that brings us to the end. So commissioners, staff, applicants, and all in attendance, thanks for being here tonight. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Can I make one quick comment?
Yes, please.
I have a compliment and an apology to make to the zoning staff. A friend of my wife's that she worked with years ago lives in the district. She approached me and said she and her neighbors have a problem with a new resident. Bought a small parcel of land and is doing things on there that obviously are zoning violations in their opinion. I gave her the central number, and she and her neighbors were very, very complimentary in how quickly you responded. Okay?
Let's be on the western side of the township.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the apology comes, as I understand it, or at least as she tells me, when you went down there, this particular gentleman is very difficult to talk with and to deal with. And apparently you found that as well and called the police. And he subsequently, apparently, in her opinion, he was found to have outstanding warrants and was arrested. And I'm sorry for putting you in that position. I obviously didn't know that. I did know that she said that he was intimidating everybody. And, but so I want to commend you for the quick response and the forceful response and apologize for putting you in that position.
Can I take one quick minute, Ms. McMullin, to respond to that?
please.
I have to do something here. There are a few things in life I really hate doing. One's my hair, and two is giving credit to other people.
Mm-hmm.
I have to give all that credit to Glenda Carter and to Stanley Schmall, our code enforcement officer, because those two jumped on it right away. We had a quick 30-minute meeting on it. I said, hey, here's the zoning stuff. That's in violation. Clearly, I got to go. Stan went out there. Stan the man went out there, and he has been one of the absolute best additions to the township. He got it done. He got it done. I mean, that's what. So don't ever apologize for giving to us what is our job to do.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for giving in the right direction, and I'm glad that this is one where there's a great result quickly.
But I didn't think it was that harsh that somebody would be arrested. But yeah,
It
I
helped
appreciate
the
it.
individual had a warrant that made it, kicked it up to a whole different level that, didn't take a year, right?
Well, and they say it's, she claimed that the police said the guy's going to be gone for at least 18 months, so.
So I think, if I recall, I don't know the details, or something, it sounded like a pretty significant warrant that,
That's okay.
you would think, you wouldn't maybe be intimidating neighbors in a neighborhood as nice as that, but
But thank you for addressing that so quickly.
again, I wish I could take credit, but please thank Glenna Carter and thank Stanley Schmelt for that.
And Mr. Gagarin, you weren't here last month, but we got to meet Stan the Man.
So he was here.
He's
There you
calling
go.
him, and he's pretty fantastic. All right.
Very
so-
sad that we'll be losing him.
So we're going to start all in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.